When you feel like dying, who feels it knows? Did you ever see times when hardship and pain, denial and strain has made you to stay sunshine or rain? Did you ever have to go when you felt like stay? Who feels it knows? Can you understand? 'Cause you know what I'm saying. Who feels it knows?
Well, a very pleasant good morning, and greetings. We are live and well. We give thanks unto the Most High God for the sustenance of life, for strength. And this is Who Feels It, Knows It, here on Tambourine Radio 92.7 FM, uptown Scarborough, next to the Salmon Tree, of course. And we've been having this program since last week, and we are putting pertinent information in the space, trying to have a conversation with you, because we believe the vote coming on the 28th of this month should be an intelligent vote, a vote that is driven by a wealth of information and so on, because it is that important. And we have been talking to some of the secretaries in the THA. Yesterday we had a very good program with the TPP TPP candidate for Tobago East, Mr. David Thomas, and we promised that we will have the candidate for Tobago West today, Mr. Joel Marcus Sampson, in studio with us, and he is here. We know that he's been burning the candle on two ends, you understand, and I know when I used to be at Bible school and we had to go all night studying, we would buy a small bottle of Nescafe coffee and put it on the table, although you wake up and the coffee will be watching you. Understand? But welcome, Secretary Sampson. Welcome to the program. We are happy that you're able to make it, and we want to jump right in. I asked Mr. Thomas this question yesterday. You have been a very successful area representative in the Crown Point area, Bonaccord, Crown Point, and so on. Came in as the assistant secretary, was promoted to secretary of community development, youth development, and sport, doing pretty good. Why you take your good self and say that you're going now to be the representative? You want to vie now to be the representative of Tobago West. Tell us, Mr. Sampson. Tell us.
That's very simple.
Yes.
Assemblyman Baynes, and
yes.
Good morning to you, good morning to Tobago. It's
yes.
simple.
Yes.
Tobago needs representation.
Right.
Tobago needs someone to stand in the gap, and I saw it fit. I pray before
Right.
I'm making any decision. So I prayed about the situation. I spoke to my wife, which is my biggest support system.
Yes.
And I decided, you know what? I can bring that representation to Tobago West and Tobago by extension that they need, because we have lacked that representation.
Indeed. I mean, and there's no question as it relates to your qualifications and your credentials as a representative. I mean, I know that your constituency, the people love you. Your work has spoken for itself over the years, and so on. So I don't know that is in question. I think the people of Tobago West seem to have gotten a new kind of love. We know that the people in Crown Point and Bonaccord love you, but since you've been given this opportunity, there's a new kind of love affair that seems to have come into the space. Because one of the things that I have contended over the years, especially going up against the PNM candidate, which even predating the last two years, the last two sessions. I'm sorry, my words ain't coming today, but we will get you right. The last 10 years. Before that, we have had PNM domination to some extent in Tobago West and Tobago East. I remember that one of the things that we looked at in the 2010 general election was we needed to find a candidate that was likable. You understand? We knew that the work would have been an uphill task, but you need to start out with a candidate that is likable. You understand? And though it may sound very mundane, I think that you have fit the bill to be liked in the Tobago space. I have looked at the people's response to you and so on, and know that you are well liked. Tell me about this journey thus far since you start hitting the pavement and so on, moving from community to community in Tobago West. What has that journey been like?
Well, that journey has been a good one. It's been a good experience. It's been a learning experience because you interact with persons of different walks of life. I'm accustomed to Bonafort Crown Point.
Right.
I'm always on the ground there, always moving about, interacting with the community. But now I'm taking this love to other communities.
Right.
And they have embraced me with open arms. There are some persons a bit reserved.
Right.
But 90%, it's all been love.
Right.
It's been good. It's been a good experience. Persons even start calling my phone, Mr. Sampson, when are you coming to this area? We need to see you. We want to see you. Because they have heard about the good things I've been doing. They have seen the good things I've been doing, and they want to feel that love as well.
Right.
So I enjoy going out to the various villages, and that was seen when me and you traverse your district.
Yes.
So all the footballers involved in sports.
Yes.
And the plumber most important.
Yes.
Fixing pipes all across the island.
Yes.
So that love has transcended.
Indeed. Now, when you assume the role as Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, I remember that what seemed to be one of the mandate was to enact and to support a lot of the programs that were youth oriented. There are a significant percentage of young voters on the scene now. Some may be even voting for the first time in this election and so on. And I want you to talk about your work there with those youth programs and the possible connection to the youth vote on the 28th. Right?
Well, we all know the youth vote is very critical.
Right.
Over the years, we have seen young persons a bit vulnerable to come out and vote. I was at that stage once, and I used to tell myself, well, we don't vote for voting ain't making sense. But when you get to understand the importance, the critical nature of voting, especially in a general election, as it relates to what you can advocate for the Tobago House of Assembly, it is important. So we have had a lot of youth programs that have rolled out since I've been there, giving young persons an opportunity, not just those on the academic side, but those that are into the technical vocational areas. So we give an opportunity to each and every youngster who is interested, who wants to do something, who wants to better their life.
Right.
And it opens a whole new window assembly mandates. Because whereas before, in the past, you might get academics programs alone, so the persons who are not academically inclined tend to shy away because I can't get the support. But now they are given an opportunity that both sides can participate, and then within it now they start seeing how the THA runs, they get an idea, they get a hands-on, so they realize, hey, voting is something that is important, We can contribute to what happens in Tobago, where Tobago goes from here. So we just have to continue to create programs for the young people, continue to talk to them. There's a saying that says you can lead a donkey to the water, but you can't force it to drink. So, you can encourage persons, you can show them, hey, if we treat with this issue this way, it can help Tobago in this way. But at the end of the day, it's a democracy, and persons are free to choose who they wish. But in times like these, you have to sit for a moment, take it in, soak in, listen to all the sides, listen to what this one is saying, and come together and say, look at Tobago. Tobago has been this way for donkey years. And in order for Tobago to move to another level, to move to that greatest little island on the planet, we as the young people are a major factor in that. And if we want to see the island we envision, we have to come out as young persons and vote. So we just have to encourage that.
Right. You know, one of the point that you made a while ago about the apparent disinterest that is among young people. You still hear young people who express this. They're very nonchalant. Some of them have no interest at all in government or governance. They have no interest in elections and so on. And tell me about your messaging, however you put across your message, particularly to younger voters and so on, to kind of get them more informed about what is taking place in the environment and the importance of that message, the impact of that message on the decision that they should make on the 28th, why they should vote for Joel Sampson, why they should vote for the TPP in this general election.
Well, Secretary Baynes, in my walks, I've met a lot of young persons who don't understand some of the intricacies of the politics of the elections and how they should vote. I try to break it down as simple as I can for them in layman's terms so that they understand.
Right.
So based on what a young person is interested in, we try to speak to them in that light, in that manner, so they will understand. So for instance, a young man on the block, you speak to him in the block terms, you break it down.
Right.
So you look for something that you can explain to him, well, this is what would happen if we should get there.
Right.
Because they are interested in jobs. And they're realizing jobs are being created, but much more want jobs. And in order for us to get more jobs, we have to go there and advocate to ensure we get more, because as we see, the DRC recommends 4.03 to 6.9, which we have received the lower end for quite some time.
Yes.
Population growth has increased. So you try to explain
cost of living,
to them, cost of living,
continue to grow.
So I try to explain to them, if this happens, this can happen. So they can now get an opportunity. We can create more programs for them.
Right.
We can create more job opportunities for them, and they start to try to understand and they start to get the gist of it, because you're talking in their terms now. You're talking in their language. You might put in a little bit of their language, how they like, So you see, So the young persons are starting to understand, but we just have to continue to sensitize and educate them. Because once we do that, then we can get to where we are going. Then Tobago can see that dream and realize that dream. But the young voter, the young man on the street, the young woman on the corner, who isn't sure where they want to go, what they want to do, that education is important, and they have started coming around. And a lot of young persons who said, we are not voting, after they explain to them, and they listen and they say, this makes sense, not say. So we just have to continue doing what we have to do.
Right. So, I mean, a candidate will have a general sense, a general feel. Apart from doing what you're doing, you're beating the pavement, you're trying to put the message out, you're speaking in these meetings and so on. But a candidate will have a gut feeling about his chances, a gut feeling about the entire scenario. What is your gut feeling, sir?
I don't want gut feeling.
Okay.
The Lord placed me here to make a change and a difference in this space you call Tobago. And I'm always confident in everything that I do.
Well, I stand corrected. Okay. All right. Okay.
As they say, blue is the code.
Blue is the code.
And we're going 100%.
Right. As you said, that blue is the code. I got a call from one of our supporters. My apologies. Yeah, that is when there is a spirit of importance in onions. So there was a report about we've had special voting started a few days ago, and some persons expressed concerns about how the ballot paper appear, how the sign, the symbol appears on the ballot paper and so on. It's very dark and so on, and they actually were making the analogy like a black box. But a black box is important. Anybody who flies an airline, a plane, know that a black box is critical, because the black box contains the most pertinent of information. And we are saying to you, don't get distracted by how it appears. That black box that you see there, as it appears on the ballot paper, you will see the anchor in there. The anchor has all the critical information. That in that anchor is all that Tobago expects to be and Tobago desires to be in the not too distant future. So just focus on the anchor. Just focus on. Yeah, don't be distracted by the negroness of the box. You understand? And it is the only one like it. It is the only, that is what is going to distinguish it on the day when you go to vote. Make sure those of you that are in Tobago West that you put your X by the anchor. Though black, the box may appear. Mr. Joel Sampson in Tobago West and Mr. David Thomas in Tobago East. We have to put that in there because this is important. No. I mean, there are other communities that you have to touch. I know today you will be beating it. And so what are some of the communities that can expect to see you come today and for the rest of the week?
So from today and going forward to the rest of the week, Lekito can look out for me. Old Ground, Golden Lane, Bethesda, Homes of Adventure, parts of Signal Hill, Mary's Hill, Spring Garden, Union, Fairbanks. I know it's quite a lot. There are some areas in Canaan, there are some areas in and around that I still have to touch, but I will turn night into day to ensure that I reach these places. Right. Rain or storm, we'll be there.
Because of how critical the vote is, it is that important. It is that important. No, there are some persons who say Nazi too young and Nazi don't understand the politics and Nazi don't understand representation. What is your response to these interlopers? What is your response to them?
Well, before I even respond to them, I remember it at that time. The Marshall sang a song, they say you're too young to soca.
yes.
Right? And you're never too young to represent. Once you understand what is the role and function. They said that in 2021.
Right.
And by God's grace, I've blossomed. And they've seen that representation catapult.
Yes.
And I'm going to take that same representation and take it to a higher level when I walk into that parliament as a new member of parliament for Tobago West.
Right.
So age has nothing to do with it. In life, we all started somewhere. No one started at experience.
That's true.
They started at a learning phase.
That's true.
And as you learn and you go along, you gain experience. So I don't go by the narrative that I'm too young or inexperienced because this job is a learning job. You learn something new every day.
That's true.
And since we have been here in office, we have learned and we have grown. So we just continue on that. Right.
I listened to some of the narratives in addition to what we just discussed there. It seems to me that some of the candidates they just level their guns at you personally, and instead of treating with the actual issues that we're supposed to contend with, they also make it appear as if the current THA is actually on trial. You understand? When in truth and in fact it is the representation of the two reps, Tobago East and Tobago West, who have been in this place for the last 10 years. And an election is upon us now, and they are the ones that should be facing the music as it relates to their carrying out of that responsibility. Tell me about your approach to treating with the kind of representation that we had for the past, or the lack thereof, for the past 10 years, and what is Joel Nazi Sampson going to bring to Tobago West? What revolutionary thoughts, if you have at this point, apart from the general things that we know, we're looking to make Tobago the best place. But what else can you see as Joel Nazi Sampson, as a person that you bring to the table that is completely different to what has already been there?
Well, firstly, Secretary Baynes, I bring that humility that we have so lacked from representatives in the past.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I come with a different style. I represent the interest of Tobago and Tobagonians and not a political organization.
Right.
So in this job, in this new job that I will assume in a few days,
Right.
it will be about the representation of Tobagonian and Tobago's interests. So in moving forward, we have to have consultations with the people here in Tobago as to how we will treat with certain issues. It's not about me taking a party's interests. It's about Tobago. And that's where we get lost sometimes. We get lost in the fact that the party interest wants this, but do we ever think about what the people of Tobago, what the people of Tobago require?
Right.
And as you said in the beginning of your statement about them pelting shots at me and these things, persons don't ever pelt rotten mangoes, actually. They pelt good mangoes.
That's true. That's true.
So I will just continue to do what is required of me by the people of Tobago. That's the mandate we will go on.
Right.
Because it is important that the people of Tobago have a voice. Because for far too long, persons in Port of Spain have decided for us.
Yeah, true.
How do they know what we want here?
Yeah, right.
Unless they sit and speak with us and have that kind of conversation that will push the narrative that we need to go forward as an island.
Indeed. We had to take a break. No, stay there. We're coming back. This, in case you're just joining us, this is Who Feels It Knows It here on Tamarind Radio 92.7 FM Uptown. And I'm speaking with the TPP candidate for Tobago West, Mr. Joel Nutsis. And we're taking a break. Stay there. Don't go nowhere.
Tobago, it's here. Local production.
Thank you guys for joining us here. Well, the man here, you understand? I see break here inside.
Send your studio demos or music and join the local production label team and release real, authentic reggae vibe. Local Productions, located at Plymouth Road, Wind Development, so call 488-9759. Call now.
Experience the adventure of a lifetime in person this July, courtesy Scotiabank. Use your credit card for local purchases $2,700 or more for your chance to see the sparks fly in a sky full of stars. There is no limit to the number of entries you can earn. Turn your purchases into a Scotia Select Pay plan and increase your chances with 5 additional entries. You don't want to miss your chance to win an all-inclusive adventure of a lifetime for 2 at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami in July. Get details on tt.scotiabank.com and follow us on Instagram at ScotiaTT for updates. Scotiabank, it starts with you. Promo ends May 31st. Terms and conditions apply. NLCB approved.
With Alive multivitamins by Nature's Way, you won't be defined by time. You'll own every minute of it. Discover how you can age vibrantly with Alive.
We've been playing for you for a long time, and now we lift you up a little higher.
Reggae Conscious Thursday. Reggae Conscious Thursdays.
Me, Mr. Marlon Asha say so. Remember, you're there on 92.7 FM. Lead out.
Listen up, brothers and sisters. You don't know this is original jam melody. And you see whenever I'm in Tobago, don't know say we radio. Oh, yeah. Rastafari. You're everything a man can want and more. Emperor Selassie, I am your rock, no more druggy than steep.
From foundation to the train, Reggae Conscious head.
Yeah, man, Radio Tamarind, gonna leave 92.7 at We Radio. Royal DMT say that. Boom, boom, reggae.
Reggae Conscious Thursday, only on 92.7 FM. Yo, people, stay tuned. Radio Tamarind 92.7. Banging.
If you're having problems with your water heater, stove, washer, dryer, fridge, chiller, deep freezer, you want parts for your appliances, call the doctor about his sales and his services. Hard to get parts, money you get that too. He install and sell AC properly for you. Motors and fans, boy, you have it all. Don't hesitate.
Alright guys, we're coming right back. talking with Mr. Joel Sampson, the candidate for Tobago West. Right, so we back. Who feels it knows it here on Tambourine Radio. We've been talking with the candidate for the TPP candidate, of course, for Tobago West, the plumber himself, Mr. Joel Sampson. I just saw a little video while on his walkabout there. He fixing pipe on the walkabout. this different. And he's always fixing something. So Secretary Sampson, you know, one of the things that the rep for Tobago West, or former rep, let me put it that way, former PNM rep for Tobago West, you know, talks about what the THA is not doing and those kinds of things. I saw yesterday, I suspect is a political show that they gave some funding to the Buko Village Council and stuff, and you know, and put it on, notwithstanding that the THA have been supporting the Buko goat and crab race over the years. In fact, in this, I think they said that the check was 110,000 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I'm sure the village council will be thankful whatever they get. But it is important for us to see that the THA, the division of tourism, has supported the goat race in the tune of 155,000, right? $85,000 was spent on the street parade, and another $55,000 was given to them as well. So that totals up to 155,000. So the point must be made that equally, although we are working with less, you understand, we're still trying our best to support, because this is a Tobago thing, you know, and we want Tobago to thrive. Talk about that. Talk about the support that the THA gives to local entities, you understand, as against what is the attempts of the former area representative and minister for sport and so on, trying her best to make the point that we're not doing nothing to be as if we are on trial. You understand?
So that reminds me of a quote I saw some time ago, where it said, I gave you $10 and he gave you $20, and you asked me if that is all I could give, but I gave you $10 because that is all I had.
Right.
They had more.
Yes.
So it just goes to show, when you piggyback on it, the division of community development, youth development and sport gets a certain amount of money to support community organizations, sporting organizations, and individuals for the year.
Sure.
Since I have sat at this seat, I would have met stuff that you would have approved. You know, with the little we had to try to support athletes.
Yes.
I came in and continued in that same vein, supporting the athletes, supporting sporting organizations, because I'm a former athlete myself, right? And I understand the importance of supporting the athletes. You know, there are times when the athletes return, we celebrate them, we give them something.
Sure.
Because at the point in time, we didn't have it when they required, but we still try to give, but the support is important at the beginning. And this executive has supported athletes far and wide in the past 3 years.
Right.
We have gone above and beyond. Till currently, we have a lot of outstanding payments to make for programs to suppliers, because we understand the importance of that support. If those in Port of Spain were interested in what was happening here, instead of coming and try to show a facade and put on a face and a show, they would have partnered with us and said, this is what is happening. We realize you have been doing this much in supporting athletes
with little.
Yes. Let's inject some more funding so you can do more. Right. There are a lot of persons that will talk in this space why they support the athletes when they come back. Sometimes we honestly don't have it at present.
That is true.
And we have to make some commitments and say, well, we will pay for this. If the supplier provides this to the athletes, we would pay as soon as we get funding.
Sure.
And persons have to understand the amount of requests that comes to the division on a weekly basis, and we try to facilitate everyone. We try to give everyone a little piece. All right, I could help this one with a little bit, I could help this one with a little more. Because we understand that Tobago is important and Tobagonians are important. And in order for us to make greater strides, we need to support them. So sometimes they get the support before they leave, sometimes they get it when they return.
Understood.
So if they have bills incurred, when they come back, that support will help them to clear some of these outstanding debts. And we continue to do what is needed. But we will always require more funding because that social part of our programming is very important as it relates to our athletes. Right. Even with the Carifta, we have just had a recently concluded Carifta Games. Carifta 2025, Trinidad and Tobago. And I stress on the Tobago because we have a stadium here. And when we have a stadium, we have an international game. Carifta is international. It's where they at least prepare. They go from there onto the larger stage. And when we have Tobagonians partaking, and we can't see them on show because not everyone is able to afford to traverse to Trinidad. We know we have the issues of flights. And they would love to go and see their Tobago athletes perform in person. And we have a Dwight York Stadium that they boast of a $30 million spent to renovate and still is unfit for any sort of athletic programming. So we have to be mindful when we go out on the 28th. What are we voting for? Are we voting for a show or are we voting for representation so that even our athletes can get more, they can benefit, the things that are necessary that they require could be put in place for them.
No, I made a point in one of the earlier programs that when a man controls your money, he controls you. You understand? And I believe that the lack of funding is on purpose. It is part of their weaponizing of any ammunition in their archives, in the armory rather, against the Tobago population, because there is a sense that Tobago wants to fly. There is a sense, there is a something in the air, that Tobagonians have come into their own, and we are getting more informed and aware of our surroundings and the things that pertain to us. The Tobago-ness is coming to the fore, and the resources that find themselves in and around the Tobago space is a critical thing as well. So these attempts and these movements in Port of Spain to underfund or to not fund at all, if you give them a chance, and to treat the Tobagonian as a subservient being and to treat us as subservient people, to speak in derogatory terms to Tobagonians with impunity when other Tobagonians clap and cheer, while the very Tobagonians, the officials that have been voted into office in Tobago, have been, verbally abused and that kind of thing. It speaks to a mentality crisis that we have to, and something in the psyche. I want to know in your messaging and so on as you go about, because that is part of what we have to try and address. You understand the psyche of some of the people in Tobago. I mean, how has the message been affecting that? And I also want you to talk about, as we say in that, annex that to the treatment of persons down in your constituency for the construction of the airport terminal and that kind of thing. The kind of representation you gave, although you were not the area representative from a national standpoint. You understand? You were not in Parliament as a Tobago West representative, but you were doing more representation on behalf of the people down there than the MP at the time. Talk about that situation.
So just going back just a bit to what you said, the mindset is important.
Yes.
And the messaging is important as it relates to that mindset, because a lot of persons' mindset have been scarred. We have been abused. Right. And some persons have seemed to give up hope because they are saying, we continue to do this and this continues to happen. We don't see much improvement. We see the same of what has happened over the years. And in order for that mindset to change, Tobagonians' mindset have to change for a greater on the 28th. Because we have been going down a path for too long.
Right.
And we see that the same thing continues. Because the monies that are being spent now, the things that are being done now, are things that we should do continuously. We should not wait for an election to come to try to bribe someone for their vote. I think, in my opinion, if you have represented well, you don't need to do anything extra around election time. You can just pass smile and wave, and you know the people would support you because of what you would have done. As it relates to my electoral district, the persons that were relocated, it's been very hard on them. They have been damaged, their mindset has been bruised, been scarred because of that treatment. Currently there are persons, a couple persons still awaiting outstanding payments from that relocation, which that process would have started in 2017, right? And I understand the importance of having a roof over your head. I understand the importance of being in a comfortable space, because that was like a whole mini community that you destroyed to build a terminal, right? And persons were not properly compensated. We know the cost of lands and homes in Crown Point and environs. And when you can say to me, I am giving an individual 300,000 for his property to relocate after the COVID, where materials would have inflated. How can he then restart? But this caring administration found it necessary to do what is required. So we would have changed the policy totally. Because you had a central government PNM, a THA-led PNM, and they didn't see it fit that these people were worth anything. So they had high prices on the land, which reduced the cost to $15 per square foot.
What was the cost of
it was about 50 thereabout and higher for canopy, right? And we would have changed that in the policy. We also instilled in the policy the intergenerational land that we have in Tobago, because you know your grandfather might have given a piece to your father, your father will pass it on to you. So in that policy now, we have that where they start paying, you make a down payment of $100, you pay $100 a month. If the person who is head of the home should pass away, the next in line would continue those payments. So we go down generation from one generation to the next. So that now has afforded some persons to start some form of construction. There is a lot to be said about that. And if we want to compare, there was an airport expansion in Trinidad. Persons were relocated, but they were relocated comfortably. But in this situation, persons were not relocated comfortably, because I can say to you today that there is no approval as yet for WASA to connect the sewer and the main. It's a temporary connection feeding the water main in there. The sewer has not been connected as yet. And persons have to try to survive. They have to make. Even looking at the electricity, some persons have to buy $30,000 in cable just to get connected because of how the infrastructure was done. And the persons or the company that was given the contract to do that just has left everything as is. But I continue to try my best for these people to ensure they are comfortable. When they reach out to me, I make sure I deal with them, try to deal with the issues to assist. They need any cleanup done in the area, I try my best to partner with whoever is willing to assist so that we can give them that assistance that they need, because we have to be our brother's keeper at the end of the day. And if persons, right-thinking Tobagonians, see this happen to their brothers, see it happen by people that say they are caring, we love you. If they can love you and can do that to them, imagine what they can do to you. And we now have to say to ourselves, enough is enough. Because if you look at the composition of the airport expansion, if you look at the exit and entry points, rocket science won't tell you that they would need more lands.
Yes.
You can see it. But at what cost or at whose cost? They won't say anything now.
Right.
They will try to play it smart because an election is in the air. But if they get back into office, then we will see they continue that push to get more lands to ensure they complete their surroundings. Because it is a must. When you look at it, we attended the open and we see where we had to pass in.
Yeah, there's certainly
right.
some challenge. And that is
there are some challenges.
Yeah, and because of arrogance too, because you would appreciate, I mean, that NIDCO or the custodians of the project refuse to have any conversation with the division of infrastructure and so on. And although the law mandates that infrastructure development on the island falls under the purview of the division. Yeah. And those things should be a collaborative effort. It's all part of that arrogance that emanates from Port of Spain, unfortunately, and is brought to bear on the officials in Tobago and by extension the government institutions of Tobago. But the reason why I raise that is because what is on trial is representation. You understand? Exactly. And one would have thought, because I remember in one of the consultations, the PNM area rep, the THA area rep, stood up in one of the meetings and was expressing his concern about how they were treating with the very persons that were being relocated on there. You understand? And you will think that the then member for Parliament for Tobago West would have taken up that issue. You understand? Taken up that issue to make sure that the people are treated humanely and treated, fairly and so on. Now, this issue that we're talking about, the company that was responsible for putting in the infrastructure for the movement, though that company was a company that we know allied to the then administration at the time, and just drop everything and just leave everything. So that is one of the representation of the kind of wickedness that we have been facing under this type of leadership in this space that we call Tobago. Thankfully, my brother, that you have come onto the landscape as a man who, your record speaks for itself in terms of representation. Thankfully, there is an organization called the Tobago People's Party that we have seen. God has helped us since 2021, that we have seen some movement away from that type of governance and that type of political philosophy that dominated the Tobago space for 2 decades. So our hope by all the work that we're doing, and even an interview like this, and the message that we hope to send out to the population is, let us complete the circle come the 28th. You understand? Joel Notsi Sampson is the pick for Tobago West, and David Thomas is the pick for Tobago East, because we have to change this thing. We just have to change it. You understand? Talk a little bit. Talk. Yeah.
And we have to ensure in the narrative that persons understand that this is not a THA election.
Indeed.
Because the attacks have been coming like it's a THA election.
Right.
And persons have to be sensitive of the fact that with the general election, it determines the representation you get, so that the Tobago House of Assembly can get more to treat with the issues that are critical to us here on the island.
Sure.
You understand? MP, as I said in one of my platform meetings, the role of an MP is not to overshadow the Tobago House of Assembly or come here and try to do their own thing. The role is to ensure that you partner with the Tobago House of Assembly, ensure you advocate for what the Tobago House of Assembly would require to realize that dream, because Tobagonians are big dreamers.
Sure.
A lot of Tobagonians travel, and things that they see outside, they will love to see for Tobago. But in order for us to achieve such, we need that representation where it counts.
Yes. Where
we can say we represented, we advocated, and Tobago got more, and we start realizing the dream of the greatest in the island.
Yes.
But in order for us to achieve that, Tobagonians have to come out and vote the right way come the 28th.
Yes.
It's not about voting for somebody in a pretty suit or a pretty outfit.
Right.
It's about voting for someone that will represent your needs and your interests.
Sure.
It's about someone that will go down and advocate and will not be a rubber stamp or a footstool to anyone.
Right.
You understand? And Tobago, I look at the slate in the West. We have 9 parties vying for the West.
Yes.
And I ask myself, it's a democracy, yes, persons want to represent, they want to try.
Right.
But why not look at the landscape, look at what we have got? Because I believe persons say to themselves, all right, this party has been representing us for the past 10 years and nothing is happening.
Right.
So we want to make a change, but that change should not come by jumping into the race. But here, you know what? We have an executive that has been working. We've seen the work that they are doing. Let's support them, even if we support them silently from in the background. Support them instead of trying to vie for that position. Because at the end of the day, if you are thinking about Tobago, firstly, Assemblyman Baynes, you think about what would benefit Tobago.
Sure.
Instead of everybody just trying to run to vie.
Right.
Let's come together.
Yeah, because it's a Tobago vote.
It's a Tobago
vote because I even contend there the last election in 2021 of the persons eligible to vote in the Tobago space, only 57%, the second election, 57% of the persons went to the polls. You understand? No, that means there's a 43% pool of persons who may not have any allegiance to any particular political party or whatever. They may have their own grievances and so on. And that is the group that we have to pander to. We understand that PNM people will go and vote their PNM and whatever. You understand? And so we are sending the message and trying to put intelligent messages in this space, because there are a lot of people that want their vote to be an informed vote. You understand what I'm saying? They want their vote, they just as they make sensible decisions about everything else, going to the grocery, doing everything else, they want to know that their vote is fueled by some sensible narrative about what this organization is going to bring to the fore. We have ventilated at length the lack of resources and the impact of that on the Tobago space. I think that we need to continue, and I'll get your thoughts on that, on the type of Tobago that we see in our mind's eye. You understand? Why we going through all of this? Why are we asking you to vote for the Tobago People's Party on the 28th? This Tobago, this ideal Tobago that we want to see manifested in our space. Talk about that, Secretary. Talk about the implication of that for the young people, for the senior people, the middle-aged people, for your children and your grandchildren, the kind of Tobago that we see in our mind's eye.
Well, voting for the Tobago People's Party would make a vast difference in this space. Because when we look at it, young persons are crying out for opportunities. We have created a lot of opportunities with the limited resources that we have gotten.
Right.
And if we look at this space, Tobago can benefit more from its own natural resources. Take, for instance, Studley Park Enterprise Limited. If we could get that export license, that will further push the Tobago economy. Because they say we only contribute 200 million to the national economy. But we can contribute so much more if we are given that opportunity to do so.
But as I said that, I said it already, but it bears repeating. The current Prime Minister is the Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, right?
Yeah.
They refuse to give Spell the export license. They refuse to give Spell even a mining license, right? Spell that belongs to Tobago up in Studley Park. In Trinidad, you make a decision that you will not, and couching the decision that Spell need to pay you royalties on money that we don't have enough already. But the thing about it, what is devilish about it is that the former administration wasn't paying no royalties. You understand?
Yeah.
So where is this selective vigilance coming from? It is purely political, and it is wicked. It is intended to continue to squeeze the Tobago people and to grind us to dust, but we will not have it. We will not have it. That is why we are on this campaign here for the 28th.
Exactly. And if persons should open their eyes and see what has been happening, what has transpired over the years.
Yes.
As I said earlier, someone in Port of Spain always deciding what should happen in Tobago, or what Tobago should get.
Yes.
We have so much here that we can do so much more. That young persons can benefit, seniors can benefit, women can benefit. The man standing in the gap who is not sure what his next move is can benefit, because we have the resources here. But once we are given that opportunity to manage our own affairs, determine our own destiny here on the island, Tobago will skyrocket. We will take off.
Sure.
You understand?
Sure.
So persons on the 28th,
yes,
there is no other choice.
Right.
But the Tobago People's Party.
Right.
David Joseph Thomas in the east.
Yes, man.
And Joel Marcus Sampson in the west.
Yes,
and I reiterate the Marcus.
Yes.
Because most persons know me as Nazi.
Right.
Recently a man said to a lady, me don't know what Joel Sampson, I went and vote for Nazi, and she had to tell him Nazi would not be on the ballot paper. Right. But we have to make an informed choice. We have to make a decision whether we want Tobago to remain the same, or we want Tobago to move to the next level, to move to that dream that the chief always speaks about becoming the greatest little island on the planet.
Yes.
So Tobagonians, I'm pleading with you this morning. This is an opportunity for change, an opportunity for something better. Yes. We won't get this opportunity for another 5 years. Don't lose this opportunity at this very present moment. Right? You know what you have in this TPP executive. You know what they bring to the table. You see the work that they have been doing. Right. So don't be hoodwinked by trinkets from the other side as they do for every election. Let's look at who cares about you, who has been standing in that gap for you, who has been fighting for you. Yes. Take the issue of the relocation very seriously. Take that into consideration when you go into the polls, and ensure that you stand up for Tobago and Tobagonians. It's not about a political organization, it's about your right to determine your destiny. Good. So you know?
Yes, man. Proper words. Well, you know, the time always flying when we talking sensible thing in here, you know. And we are down to the end of the program. This is another installment of Who Feels It Knows It here on Tambourine Radio, 92.7 FM, Uptown Scarborough near the Salmon Tree. We are continuing. We probably have 2 more installments for you. Tomorrow, we are going to be back tomorrow. We'll be talking with Breaker Benjamin tomorrow, who represents a young voice, and he called me and said, you need a young voice on the team. And so we'll be having him, and we expect to have the Chief Secretary on Friday. All right? So take good care. We've been talking with the Tobago West candidate for the TPP, Mr. Joel Marcus Sampson. That is the man who voted not Nazi, Marcus Sampson.
And if they're not making out the black box, let's look for number 8. Look for number 8.
All right. So God bless you guys. Take good care. Have a fantastic day. We will be back again tomorrow, God's willing. Take care. We gone. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow, God's willing. Right.